guys, Turtleman here. Welcome to Ripley's Haunted Castle. This is actually, we are going to be investigating here. We have an electromagnetic and thermometer. Also, we have this. I may have lasered it in my eyes, but I don't care. A laser that see different handprints.
Right.
So right now, there's other investigation that once they're done, we're going in. It's gonna be intense. My dad is probably gonna be crying like a baby soon. Okay. And yeah,
We'll see you on the inside.
Yes, and make sure to please, I'm so close to 500 subscribers. So if you could just please click that subscribe button. It's right there. It's free. And it's only takes a second. You always change your mind. Also, you can also
share
it.
Yep.
Share with your friends and family. You know, all that stuff.
Alrighty.
And yeah.
We'll see you on the inside.
We'll see you on the inside.
As they are investigating. Now another thing, and this is extremely important, those laser grids that you were given, those are not flashlights. They're not meant to be used as flashlights as you were going into the building. If I catch you using it as one, so blindly pointing into the room, using it to lead yourself during the dark hallways or anything like that, I will have to take it away from you. You can hurt somebody with these if you shine them in their eyes. And I want to make sure that everybody leaves with the exact same eyesight as they came in with. So please be very careful with them. If you do need a flashlight, you can use one on your phone, or I also have lanterns upstairs. Now, other than that, we're going to head on into the building. Please find the seat.
Get ready.
Yep.
We're about to go in. I was just about to ask the question on how we're supposed to see it, but you said it already.
Yeah, I will explain everything in the presentation.
Okay.
In the building with you the entire time. I do not investigate with you. You have the building on your own, but I will be in a specific room. So if you have any questions, you'll just come back and I will be able to help you with that. Now, the building you are currently sitting in is 135 years old. It was completed in 1887. It was built for a man named William Worden. Now, Worden was a silent partner in Standard Oil with John D. Rockefeller and Henry Flagler. And by the time this building was completed, he used it as a winter home with his wife and their 12 surviving children. Now, the Wardens would have this building up until about 1930, when they would then abandon it, and it would sit vacant for the next 11 years. Now, during that time, they renamed this building the Castle of Doom. As you can guess with that name, this was not a good place to be. What started off as trespassing and vandalism quickly became drugs and death. We actually do not have an accurate count of how many people died inside this building during the 1930s because the city of St. Augustine did not keep track. All we know is that it got so bad here that they decided in 1941 that they were just going to tear the building down. Now, obviously that did not happen because we are sitting in it. And that is because of a wealthy couple by the name of Marjorie Keenan Rawlings and Norton Baskin. Now, Marjorie Keenan Rawlings, she was a Pulitzer Prize winning author, and her husband, Norton Baskin, was a wealthy hotelier. He was vacationing in St. Augustine when he saw this building and decided that this would be the perfect place for his next upscale hotel. So he purchased it, renovated it, and renamed it the Castle Worden Hotel after the original owners. Now, in order to stay in this building, you had to be extremely wealthy. For the cheapest room for one night, it was going to cost you $200, which doesn't sound too bad in today's money, but when you take into account inflation, that is going to cost you $3,825 for one night in this hotel. So obviously everybody staying here is very wealthy. Now, what you were paying for with that price point was your privacy. So you could come into this building and you could sign whatever name you wanted in the guest registry, and staff was not going to ask you any questions. Now, this worked really well for them up until April 23rd, 1944. Now, a fire broke out inside this building, and 2 women were found dead afterwards. The first is this one right here. This is Ruth Pickering. Now, Ruth Pickering was actually dear friends of Marjorie Keener Rawlings and Norton Basket, and she'd been living permanently up in their private 4th-floor penthouse for 2 years. When on the day of the fire, she was found in her bathtub with a wet towel wrapped around her face and neck, with a knot tied off to the side. The bathroom that she was found in had a window that led out to a fire escape. Now, they said that Ruth actually used this fire escape every single day that she lived in this building to go upstairs to the roof to sunbathe or smoke. But for some reason, on the day she should have used her fire escape for its intended purpose, she jumped into the bathtub and waited for somebody to come and save her. Now, 1 floor below her is where the second victim was found. This is Betty Richson. Now, Betty was a 30-year-old woman from Jacksonville who had checked in that morning of the fire. They said that when she checked in, she smelled heavily of alcohol and cigarettes, and that she was crying. The staff said that after a little bit of prompting, she told them that she'd been in a fight with her family, and this was a spur-of-the-moment check-in, and that she was running away. Now, just like Ruth, Betty was also found in her bathtub with a wet towel wrapped around her face and neck with the same exact knot tied off to the side. She was also found in a bathroom that had an unlocked window that led out to a fire escape. Now, although Betty supposedly told the staff that this was a spur-of-the-moment check-in, the truth is that was a lie. First of all, $200 was not a spur-of-the-moment thing during the 1940s. And second, her room had actually been paid for the day before by a man who had signed in with a simple X. Now, it has been 78 years since this fire, and we still only know this man as Mr. X. All we know is that on April 22nd, he came in and purchased 2 rooms. For the room that he took for himself, which was a luxury room set up for 4 people, he signed that simple X and then went upstairs and had what we could only guess was a lovely night because nothing was ever reported. The next day, Betty checks in about 9 a.m. She goes upstairs to her room up on the 3rd floor. She is then seen wandering around upstairs on the 3rd floor looking for Mr. X's room. She eventually finds the room because they say they hear a screaming match coming from inside the room that ends after many people in the building say they hear a loud bang. Now, after that bang, this man calls downstairs to housekeeping and asks for extra towels to be delivered to his room. He's in a room set up for 4 people. He shouldn't have needed any more towels. But he'd also spent what is now the equivalent of $8,000 on 2 rooms, so they did not ask him any questions and brought him up the towels. He was then seen leaving his room with a rolled up carpet over his shoulder, headed to where Betty's body would eventually be found. Nobody thought to stop to ask the man why he decided to renovate his room in the middle of the day. And then when the fire was out, and they were doing a head count of everybody inside of the building, this man was the only person unaccounted for because they did not have his real name, and anybody who may have known who he was not coming forward with his identity. Nobody was able to ever ask this man any questions about that day. Now, 2 weeks later, in a newspaper in Jacksonville, they blamed everything on Betty. They said she was so drunk when she checked in that she passed out while smoking a cigarette and lit that side of the hotel on fire, killing herself and Ruth. But a cigarette was never found afterwards. The fires were actually only located in the 2 bathrooms where the women's bodies were found and did not affect any other part of the building. They were so small and insignificant that it took a bucket of soap and water to clean up after them. The original floorboard is still upstairs in the theater room, which is the room that Betty was found in. It's originally 1887, and there is no damage to it whatsoever. Now, we are never truly going to know what happened on that day in 1944, but a loose cigarette and a coincidence that only 2 women died while everybody else in this entire building, which was a full night that night of 18 rooms, it is never truly going to add up. But brighter days were ahead because in 1950, we did become the very first permanent Ripleys, believe it or not. Now, we do have the honor of being the only Ripleys that Robert Ripley himself ever got to step foot in. Now, he did not get to see this building become his first museum. Instead, he stayed here while this was the hotel. And he fell madly in love with this building. And he would constantly go to Marjorie Keenan Rawlings and ask for permission to purchase it. Now, unfortunately for Robert Ripley, there was two things in this world that Marjorie Keenan Rawlings hated. The first was this building. She actually despised it. The only reason she was ever coming here was because Norton was over fighting in World War II. Ruth was actually living upstairs on the 4th floor to watch over the building while she wasn't here. The second was Robert Ripley. We don't know why, but she hated this man. So he would ask for permission to purchase it, and she would tell him, "Over my dead body." Now, it wasn't until after his death in 1949 that his estate was able to purchase the building later that year. We became the very first permanent Ripleys, believe it or not, on Christmas Day 1950, which was a last birthday and Christmas present for Robert Ripley. Now, what haunts the historical Castle Warden? Well, to start off, we were actually built on top of the burial trenches of the fort next door. Warden just knew he was buying cheap land close to downtown. He did not realize what was underneath that cheap land. Some of those bodies are underneath us to this day. We then have the deaths here in the 30s, the deaths here in the 40s, and then Ripley's came in and added things that are made to torture people, things that are made to kill people. We have several artifacts in our collection that are made out of people. So we took land and a building with a tragic past, and then we added artifacts with our own tragic past. Now we've got an interesting thing going on inside of our building. But can I guarantee you're going to see a ghost tonight? No. We do give them the schedule every week, but they're not on the payroll. So they do get to do whatever they want inside of the building, unfortunately. But I do have some photos and tips and tricks and extra pieces of equipment to help you guys possibly capture something tonight. Now, these next few photos are who we're going to refer to as our regulars. Now, we do have...
This right here is the spirit box. The most famous thing. Okay, I'm gonna ask
Your
them.
laser just went off.
Did it?
Is there any?
Is there any?
Your laser just went off.
This one?
Can you make the light flash one more time?
What's it say?
Do you like it when we're all in this room together?
Dude, that lady just got around.
Here goes the light again.
Can you flash that light one more time?
David, go over by the female's picture. Just a drop.
Can you tell me who's this woman in this photo?
Is that a woman?
Yeah.
Can you give us a signal through the air vent?
Can you tell me your name? Jada. Can you tell me your name? Can you tell me your name? Jada. Can you tell me your name? Are you a female?
She said yes. Do you like it? So this is probably gonna be my last here since I'm probably gonna be going, never probably gonna come back. Can you say goodbye to me, please? Wait, what? Did you hear that? Can you please say goodbye to me in the means of ending this session? Well, that's gonna be all for this video. Sorry if you didn't get to see anything. When I get home, I will actually tell you in another video what I actually saw at the corner of my eye. But until then, my name's Turtle Mash. Thank you for watching my video. And we'll see you.